A US military operation, a captured president, and fresh tremors across global oil markets. The US military action in Venezuela didn't come out of nowhere. It was the culmination of years of political confrontation over power, oil, disputed elections, and allegations of criminal activity that finally tipped into force. US President Donald Trump has since indicated that American oil companies could invest heavily in Venezuelan oil fields. That prospect has put global markets on edge, because when uncertainty hits a major oil-producing nation, prices are usually the first to react, at least in the short term. So does that mean the oil risk extends to India as well? Does the turmoil threaten India's trade or energy security? Experts tracking the situation say, not really. Why? We'll explain that, but after a short break. Indian officials say the exposure is minimal, mainly because India's trade with Venezuela is very small. In FY25, total bilateral trade between India and Venezuela stood at $1.8 billion, compared to India's overall trade, which crossed $1.16 trillion. That means Venezuela accounts for only a sliver of India's global trade footprint. A closer look makes this even more clear. India exported goods worth $217 million to Venezuela in FY25, just 0.05% of total exports. Imports stood at $1.65 billion, around 0.23% of India's total imports. Petroleum dominates these imports, making up about 63% of what India buys from Venezuela. But even that dependence has been steadily declining. Officials say India has already reduced its Venezuelan crude intake over the years. Sanctions on Venezuela and deep discounts on Russian oil have changed India's sourcing strategy. As a result, Venezuelan oil today plays only a marginal role in India's energy basket. Experts say any price impact from this crisis is likely to be short-lived and not structural. But let's not be mistaken, India does have upstream oil interests in Venezuela. ONGC Videsh Limited, the overseas arm of ONGC, holds a 40% stake in a joint venture with Venezuela's state oil company PDVSA. But experts point out that these investments have faced uncertainty since 2019. The latest developments, they say, do not materially alter India's risk exposure. Trade experts caution that while the short-term impact is limited, the global trend is worrying. Competition for raw materials and energy resources is picking up. And in a world where power increasingly influences access, countries like India must tread carefully. So experts say India's focus should be on protecting strategic autonomy, diversifying energy sources, and avoiding long-term dependencies that could limit future choices. For more such explainers on global issues and how they affect India, follow Business Standard.